In this video, I'm going to share with you everything that I do to get ready for a monthly art challenge. October is a really exciting month because there are so many different art challenges. There's Inktober, where they give you different prompts every day. There's Arttober, which appeals to a lot of people who like to do digital art. There's also Drawtober, where they also give you different themes every day. And you can check all of those out and see the different prompt lists that they have for them. I like to approach drawing in October a little bit differently because for me, it's more about an opportunity to develop my own skills in drawing. And I'm less interested in having different topics where I have to come up with different conceptual ideas. For me personally, it just reminds me too much of what my entire university experience was like. And I just want to draw for the pure pleasure of drawing and also to improve my skills of drawing with ink. And for the past few years, I've been really passionate about drawing architecture and landscapes. And so I'm going to be doing what I dub as Housetober, where I'll pick 7 different themes and do 4 drawings for each theme, and then an 8th theme where I'll do 3 drawings. I'm going to start by giving you a little tour of the last 2 years of my October drawings, and then I'm going to show you how I prepare. And that will include choosing different themes, choosing different paper, collecting everything, what supplies I'm going to use, and what I do with the drawings after. I'll be creating a little art kit so that I can have it with me all the time, and so there's no excuse not to draw. I can draw with it here in my studio, take it downstairs, take it outside, take it on an airplane. I can take it anywhere and be able to do my drawings every day. I'll show you a little tour of what I've done the last few years. These are the originals from 2022, which was the first time that I did a daily drawing challenge in October. And I have different categories. So this first category was thatched cottages. And I didn't complete these in any particular order. I just had several pictures that were cropped, and I just chose a picture that called to me on a specific day. The second category were cabins. I realized about halfway through this challenge that I had different collections. And so about halfway through, I was very intentional about which photos I chose to draw. And so I noticed I had 4 thatched cottages and 4 cabins and etc. And some of these I love more than others. I look at this one, and these are all buildings that are near and dear to my heart to begin with. And I remember taking these photos. The next category were Americana. The thing I loved about this year is that I took almost all of the photos that I drew from, and they're all photos that really spoke to me at the moment and had been sitting in a folder of inspirational drawings for some of them years. So it was really nice to finally sit down and draw them. Another category were Victorian, and these are Victorian houses both in the US and also England. This one here is the first one I did, and I was much more simple about the outside. And then as I progressed, I started filling the whole page, so I can really see the progression in my skills when I look at these, and also my style. This next category were adobe houses, and I had a friend of mine who lives in Tucson, where I used to live, take some photographs that I could use to draw. And this one was particularly nostalgic for me because I really loved my time living in Tucson. I lived there for 10 years, and drawing these little adobe houses really brought me back in time. So it's nice as you're doing these challenges to think about buildings that are nostalgic to you. This next category of tree houses are photos that I didn't myself take because I haven't really been able to find tree houses on my adventures. But they were all buildings that I really thought were beautiful and inspired me to draw them. It's always a little bit trickier to draw something when you haven't seen it in real life, because there is something about the memory of seeing something that I think helps you recreate it more effectively. This category of storybook was really fun, and only one of these was from my own photograph. This lighthouse was from a photograph that I took. But the other ones are all from images that I found online. And there are many different free websites where you can get royalty-free or copyright-free images that artists and photographers allow you to draw and use for your own drawing practice. And sometimes I'll find an image on Instagram And I always ask the photographer before I do a drawing that I'm going to make public if it's okay with them if I use their image for my drawing inspiration or my painting inspiration, unless it's a royalty-free image, in which case it's not necessary to do that. And this final is similar to the storybook. It's a fairy tale category, and this was the odd number, so I only have 3 for those. Last year, I was a lot more intentional, but also a lot more creative about using images that I had taken. So most of these are from other images and photographs that I found online. This first category are thatched cottages. And this is a repeat category from 2022 because I just love the thatched cottages that I see all over England. And it's fun revisiting these to think which ones are my favorites, which ones really speak to me. I also did a lighthouse category. I have a long love of lighthouses and have always romanticized living in one, pretending that I lived back in the 1800s and it's my job to go up and light the beacon every day and live by the sea. I know I'm completely oversimplifying it, but this is my fantasy world, so it was fun to do these drawings. I've always also had a similar fascination with windmills, and so that was another category that I did last year. And in particular, windmill houses. So windmills where people actually live or they live next door. And it was a lot of fun to find these and draw these. And I actually found there to be specific challenges with these that was really good for my drawing skills. It's always good to give yourself different challenges. And the nice thing about doing a small collection is that you practice those skills over and over. So the first time it's more difficult, and then by the time you reach the 4th, it's more familiar and you feel more comfortable tackling that subject matter. My next category were gatehouses. And these are the beautiful houses that you see on the edge of big estates or even castles. And they're actually beautiful homes that somebody lived in. And their job was to monitor who was coming in or going out of these big properties. But I loved the arches and the architecture, and I had a lot of fun with different foliage on these as well. This category of barns from last year is one of the ones from photographs that I actually took. And so again, these felt a little more special for me to draw than some of the ones where I found images online. This is the only one from an image that I found online, but these other 3 are all barns that I visited and was struck by and really meant something to me. I also did a tree houses category again last year, mostly because I just found several images or images that were left over from the previous year that I still wanted to draw and hadn't had the opportunity to do. Tree houses to me are especially challenging because you have to put the foliage all around the house and make it look like it's a tree house. So there's a lot of positive and negative space involved in being able to draw those accurately. And being that it was October, I actually did a haunted category. And this one was a lot of fun because I actually hid different creatures and things in windows and in the sky and in the foliage. And if you look carefully, you can see some of those little things like ghosts and vampires and witches and bats and black cats. So I had a lot of fun with this category. And then my final category last year were rolling homes. And this was the last category where I only had 3 images. And 2 of these are from people who I follow online, and then the 3rd was from a royalty-free image. If you watch my channel, you know that I have a little art fan for plein air painting adventures, and so it's probably not a surprise to know that the idea of rolling homes has always really appealed to me, being able to drive around and paint. And my mother had a book that I used to pore over when I was young, and it's actually called Rolling Homes. And these 2 on the right really remind me of the different house trucks that I found in that book. So these feel really nostalgic to me and were a lot of fun to draw. This year, I've already decided on what I think are going to be my 8 different themes. And next week, I'm going to devote myself to actually collecting images for what I want to draw every day. One of the nice things for me about this daily drawing challenge that I've done for the past 2 Octobers is that I don't put pressure on myself to have to go to different locations or draw from life. Although I do definitely recommend drawing from life as much as you can. But for me, this is just more of a relaxing, chill experience where I choose different reference photos and I can draw them when I'm sitting down and relaxing with my family in the evenings, or if I'm traveling. It's pretty easy to be able to find an hour or two within my day. And if I already have the images selected and I already have all of my supplies collected, it makes it a lot easier to be motivated to actually continue with it. It's just nice to think that all of these people all over the world are drawing every day and that you're not in it alone. And it's fun to share with other artists. So the first thing I'll do is I'll choose different themes for the month. And if I'm doing 4 drawings for each theme, that gives me 7 different categories of 4 and 1 category of 3. And I'll either go through my phone and find images I've already taken, or I'll go out and take new images, or I'll look online for a royalty-free image. And then I'll put them into a photo album on my phone and my iPad so that everything is all organized and it makes it a lot easier when it comes time to drawing. Another thing I'll do is crop the image so that it's the same proportions as the paper that I'm using to draw on. If you want to do this challenge with me, I'll be posting my themes here on YouTube in the Community Posts tab soon, sometime before October 1st. Or you can make your own themes. You can do anything that you want. That's the fun thing about these challenges. It's fun to have different prompt lists and different communities where there's a bigger thing, but you can alter things however you want. You're the boss. So make it into something that you love, drawing things that really appeal to your own creativity and your own heart. I'll be posting some of my stuff over on Instagram and some of it here, but I'll be posting every day over on Patreon. I'll show you both the images that I'm going to draw as well as the drawings that I create from them for each theme. And in fact, I already have last year's up on my Patreon, so you can see that as well. So if you'd like to draw along with me, even if you're only doing a little bit of it, it would be really fun to see what you're doing. So tag me over on Instagram so that I can see what you're doing, or join me over on Patreon and share with me there. This year, I'm choosing to draw on postcards again because I like this size. It makes it very easy for me to succeed and be able to actually complete a pretty detailed drawing every day. This Sea White of Brighton is a really popular brand in the UK, and I like the texture of the postcards. It's somewhere between a hot press and a cold press, but definitely more textured. And I really like to draw on this paper. It is a cellulose paper, so I wouldn't probably want to paint on these, but for drawing, it's a really nice surface. The size of this paper is about 4 1/4 by 5 3/4. And I find that if I crop all of the images on my phone to 5 by 7, that leaves me with a little bit of extra room on the bottom and the top of each of the drawings. And so I center the picture somewhere in the middle there, keeping in mind that the width is going to be the same. And oftentimes I leave a little bit of space all the way around, like a vignette anyway. So it just makes it easier to choose 5 by 7, even though it's not exactly the same ratio. But if you're new to drawing and that's a bit of a problem, do get paper that's exactly the same size and proportions as your image. So if your image is 5 by 7, then make your paper 5 by 7. And you can easily make your own postcards with your own watercolor paper. And if you're doing that, it makes it a lot easier. These are the supplies that I'm going to use this month. I have a mechanical pencil. It's a Pentel Graph Gear. I love this mechanical pencil. It's 0.5, and it does have a little eraser on the top, which I don't really use on the postcards. Instead, I will use a kneaded eraser, and I'll keep it in this little container. And the kneaded eraser is nice because it will erase any pencil marks, but it won't mark up the paper or tear anything. And then I will use a click eraser sometimes if I really have something that I'm having difficulty erasing. So I'm going to include that with my supplies. I'm also going to have some knitting needles and some cut down shish kebab skewers to help me if I want to measure certain objects. The knitting needles are really nice, but I find sometimes if I'm measuring with a screen, if I'm drawing from a photograph, the screen doesn't really like metal. So it's nice to also have the wooden ones. And then I'll have a little bit of extra lead for the mechanical pencil in case I run out. When I'm doing any kind of technical drawing, I also like to have a divider. If you don't know what this is, check the video that I'll link in the description. It tells you all about it and how to use it. but this is an essential for me. And finally, I want to have some fine liners. I've used the Prismacolor Premier fine liners for the last 2 years because I really like them. And my favorite sizes are the 005 and the 01. I rarely use any other size, but sometimes I'll include an 03 and an 05 just to give me a little bit of extra options if I have an area that's particularly dark. Next week, I'm going to be doing a comparison of 9 different fine liners because I'm in the market for some other fine liners that I like. I have a couple of favorites now, but I would like to explore some of the other ones and see if there's something that I like as well, or that maybe I even like better. So if you'd like to see that, make sure you're subscribed and make sure you hit the notifications bell so that you don't miss that video. I have this simple clipboard that I like to use. This actually was my father's, so it's pretty old, but you can find similar ones online and at art stores. And I like it because I can easily clip my drawings to this, and it makes it more portable for me to be able to draw. I'm actually going to be completing a lot of these drawings when I sit downstairs in the evening and relax with family. And so I want to create a really easy, lightweight, and portable kit that I can take with me downstairs or outside or at a cafe. I'm going to be visiting my mom in the US later in the month, so I can easily travel with it, bring it on the airplane, or draw in my studio with it. So I'm going to be putting everything into my mini sun deck with the exception of the postcards and the clipboard, which I can easily carry separately. I'll put my kneaded eraser and my extra lead in the side zipped pouch. I'll put my drawing stuff over on the left side. So I have my shish kebab skewers and my mechanical pencil, my click eraser, and then my divider and my knitting needles will go in this pouch behind the front pouches because that point can stick through the bottom sometimes, and I find it's more secure in the pouch. And the knitting needles will go right over here. I also have a little bit of extra paper for if I want to practice different effects. It's always nice to have a bit of scrap paper. And then my 4 different sizes of fine liners. I like to put them in order of size from the thinnest nib to the thickest. And I'm also going to include a few extras of the 005 and the 01 over on the right, just in case I run out of ink. And when I do the comparison next week, if I find another fine liner that I like instead, I may change this altogether, but for now, this is about perfect. I still have a little bit of space here in case I want to put something else for when I'm traveling. And I also have the pouches in the back, but for now, this is nice and lightweight, and I can easily carry this anywhere I want. I'll clip the postcards onto the clipboard. And so this is all I need to be able to complete this drawing challenge anywhere that I want. And it makes it a lot easier to start if you already have all of your supplies in one spot. Let me know in the comments if you're planning to draw every day in October, and if you're going to do Inktober or Arttober or Drawtober, or if you want to do Housetober here with me, or if you're going to make up something of your own. I'd love to hear about what you're doing. And one thing that I always like to do with my postcards is I take them to my printer and I bring some watercolor paper, and he prints them using waterproof ink, and that way I'm able to take them home and create my own watercolors from them. And so I actually have a small selection of postcards that I send to some of my patrons, and eventually I'll be putting these on my website to sell as well for people who just don't want to do the drawing but want to have the fun doing the watercolor practice. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you all have a beautiful day with many happy drawing and painting adventures.